Day one of the NFL draft is in the books, and the Kansas City Chiefs added another pass rusher to this defensive line. We will discuss the impact that Felix Anudike Uzomah can have in year one, and also, we still got plenty more of the draft to go, so we will be focusing on round 2 and round 3. But before we do get into all of that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, as I'm going to keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chief related that you do not want to miss out on. And without further ado, let's have some fun. Day one of the NFL draft was crazy, and I feel like the hype lived up to it completely. From the first 10 picks, it was chaos. You had the Texans picking back to back. You had teams trading in and out. You had your first 3 or 4 picks being quarterbacks. It was insane. The movement was real. It was what was projected. And one movement that we didn't get to focus on heavily was if the Kansas City Chiefs were going to trade up. We will discuss further more into that, but also thank you for everyone who joined the live stream last night. That was fun. It was a joy. So, of course, we are going to run it back again tonight to cover rounds 2 and 3. It'll be at 7 o'clock Eastern, so be there. Let's have fun. Let's chat. Let's discuss pick by pick and see what the Kansas City Chiefs do. But discussing what the Kansas City Chiefs will do, let's focus on their selection as they stayed put at pick 31 and selected pass rusher out of Kansas State, Felix Anudike Uzomah. Initially, I think it's a really, really great pick. Now, when I say initially, it's funny because instant reactions coming into this was a lot of Chiefs Kingdom itself was a little bitter and salty about the pick. And I think they're mostly bitter at the Kansas City Chiefs staying at pick 31 more than the pick, because throughout this whole draft process, it seemed like it was a guarantee that Brett Veach and the Kansas City Chiefs were going to find a way to trade up because the draft is in Kansas City. The Kansas City Chiefs want to be the star, and they're going to make a splash. That wasn't the case. And then it also rubbed Chiefs Kingdom wrong too when the draft board was falling so lovely that if the Kansas City Chiefs wanted a wide receiver, they could have had their pickings, because the first wide receiver did not fall off the board until the Seattle Seahawks came on the clock, and that was at pick 20. And the fact that Jackson Smith-Njigba was there, and you think the Kansas City Chiefs, that was basically the distance to where you think a trade would be realistic, they could have went and got their guy. Now, at the end of the day, we heard all the speculations with Zay Flowers, with Jackson Smith-Njigba, with Quentin Johnston. That could have been initially smokescreens, and that's what it's looking like. I don't believe that the Kansas City Chiefs were going to make that huge of trade. There was potential trade discussions that we will get into later in this video, but at the end of the day, Brett Veach felt more comfortable with staying put and bolstering up this defense. And I think with Felix Anudike Uzomah, he doesn't deserve the backlash that the Kingdom's giving him. People think that it was a huge reach by the Kansas City Chiefs. No, it wasn't. A lot of scouts, rankings, analysts had him in that range from 27 to 34. 31 falls in that exact spot too. And I think it's hilarious that throughout this whole entire offseason, Chiefs Kingdom has been preaching and wanting a pass rusher. And then Brett Veach gets you a pass rusher, and it's like, yeah, we didn't want him though. Like, come on. He's a young dude with major upside. He's played 27 games and had 20 and a half sacks. The dude is 21 years old. I think the hugest bright spot in all of this as well is you have now Uzomah and George Karlaftis for the next 4 to 5 years on rookie contracts. That is huge for the defensive line moving forward. And you already signed Charles Omenihu as well to now you could do whatever you want with him. Kind of like what the San Francisco 49ers were doing. You can move him inside, you can move him outside, just get after the quarterback. And then we already know what Chris Jones is going to do. He's going to create havoc. Felix Anudike Uzomah was definitely the right pick and at the right selection as well. The Kansas City Chiefs stayed put. They selected the hometown guy, and it was a cool story all around. I also seen Chiefs Kingdom saying that Brett Veach only selected Uzomah because he is a hometown kid. Knock it off. Like, are you serious? Like, the production backs itself up. The story just fits it, and that's all it is. For everyone that's hating on Uzomah, I can't wait till once the season comes around and he starts recording sacks, and you will be the same people cheering him, buying his jerseys. You guys are just overreacting to a draft so early. I think at the end of the day, the Chiefs got their guy. He fits Spags and he fits Joe Colin's scheme. He's literally the profile they look for. And that's what I wanted to touch on a little bit here as well. The players that were on the board and the pick right before the Kansas City Chiefs, the Philadelphia Eagles selected Nolan Smith. And everyone, including myself, was like, man, Nolan Smith would be an amazing player to have on the Chiefs. But also, you're just thinking from a fan's perspective. Look at it as Spags, Coach Reed, and Joe Colin's perspective. That's not typically the pass rusher they get. And actually, thinking more in depth to it, I'm happy the Eagles took him, because if he was on the board when the Kansas City Chiefs would have selected, guess what? They're still selecting Uzomah. And if they select Uzomah over Nolan Smith, Chiefs Kingdom wouldn't let Brett Veach and the Kansas City Chiefs hear the end of it. Uzomah was their guy all along at pick 31. That's why he was a majority of the mocks. Now, yes, we all anticipated a trade up, and we're going to discuss that as well, because reports came out that the Kansas City Chiefs did decide that they wanted to trade up, and they had a call with the Dallas Cowboys. But also, if they would have made that trade, Chiefs Kingdom still wouldn't have been happy, because it would have been for defensive tackle out of Michigan, Mazi Smith. And I tried to tell you guys throughout this whole draft process, wide receiver is the sexy position. We all want the firepower. But one of the biggest holes on this team, to me, the biggest hole, is defensive tackle. And Brett Veach and Coach Reed displayed it there by saying, we like Mazi Smith, let's get a defensive tackle. Chiefs Kingdom would have been so hot if that's the player they would have traded up for. And now that they stay at 31, y'all is still upset. At the end of the day, he covers a hole on this defensive line that I believe he will be an immediate starter as well. I think he'll start out rotational-wise, honestly, with Charles Omenihu, and then he will glide into his role the same way George Karlaftis did. And we all expect George Karlaftis to take that next leap. So the fact that you have a rookie coming in, basically going on the same stride, it's going to be fun to see. And the main takeaway from this is, and what caught Brett Veach's eye, the dude is so talented and he's only 21 years old. What more could you ask for? This is, to me, I would give it an A rating. It covers a hole. You get a young player. He has great movement. He's got great bend. And now you have a young line with two pass rushers that can get after the quarterback. I think this was a solid draft pick. I think Chiefs Kingdom is just very salty right now that they didn't get a weapon. And they feel like Patrick Mahomes is not going to have a guy. That's what rounds 2 and 3 are for. And that's what we'll discuss right now. Because everyone's acting like round 1's over, the draft is over. That is far from the case. Brett Veach, this is when he starts cooking the best, is in round 2, probably through the rest of this draft. He will find those players in the rough and make them star players for Patrick Mahomes. And this is where in round 2 specifically, I would look for a wide receiver or a tight end. Honestly, I might look at tight end here because only one tight end was taken in the round 1 yesterday, Dalton Kincaid. The Buffalo Bills snagged him. They got a good tight end. That's unfortunate. But you still got guys like Mayer out there. You got Musgrave. You got Darnell Wright out there. And Laporta's out there too. This is one of the deepest tight end drafts. And I wouldn't be mad if the Kansas City Chiefs selected one in either the 2nd or 3rd round. And we can also focus on wide receiver here as well, because you still got Cedric Tillman, you got Mingo, you got Rashee Rice, you got Tank Dell, you got Jalen Hyatt. That's just 5 guys off the top of my head. You got Reed out of Michigan State. There's a lot of depth, and I think it gets really good at the end of the 2nd round going into the 3rd round. I know what's going to happen in this draft going into the 2nd round is that middle section, the wide receivers will have a run again, and the Kansas City Chiefs will be far away to where it's like, here we go again. Mahomes won't get a weapon. I think, honestly, if the Chiefs have a guy in mind, specifically a playmaker, whether it be wide receiver or tight end, I would much rather them trade up in the 2nd round than they did not in the 1st round, because the depth is there and you're not giving up too much capital. If you were to do it in round 1, there's potential if you wanted to get in the top 15, you were going to give away a 1st round pick. Here, you're going to give up maybe your 4th, maybe a 5th, and then move forward with it. I love the depth that round 2 presents. And also, we were focusing on tight ends and wide receivers. Don't be surprised if the Kansas City Chiefs decide to double down and bolster that defensive line. They could go defensive tackle in round 2. They can also focus on that cornerback group. I know a lot of us do not like to discuss it, but L'Jarius Sneed is coming into a contract extension. You still got guys like Joey Porter Jr. is still on the board. He will get taken early in round 2. But if the Chiefs want to trade up, I would love that addition. Cam Smith is also available as well. There are still studs out there, and there will still be diamonds in the rough to where we'll question, and we'll be like, who did Brett Veach take? We did it with L'Jarius Sneed. We did it with players in the past, and they end up being stars. Jalen Watson, Isaiah Pacheco, they end up being ballers. This is when the draft gets fun, and I'm excited for it. Chiefs Kingdom, we're going to close this video out, but we're not done for the day. We are going live tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern. I will have you guys for the rest of the night going pick by pick, discussing the Kansas City Chiefs draft and discussing everyone else's draft. So I can't wait to see y'all tune in. I'm checking out for the moment. Y'all take care. See you tonight. Peace.